join. Thank you everyone for being here. I'm so grateful for your time and energy. I know everyone is really busy, and so just the fact that you carved out some time to join us is just really wonderful and a testament to your interest and generosity in helping. So real quickly, I'm Becky Straw. I'm the co-founder of the Adventure Project. I'm joined by my colleagues, Michael, I might be pointing the wrong way, Michael, and then Nikki, who are here with us today. And then we have some TAP supporters, and I'm gonna let Catherine, Tom, and Nancy quickly introduce themselves there with KickStart, which is a revolutionary irrigation nonprofit that was founded, I wanna say 26 years ago. Is that right? Am I close?
Getting up there, yeah.
Up there. With a really, I would say they were on the forefront of the social enterprise models, which is how do you build appropriate technology that affects people living in poverty, that is designed and geared at a low cost, but has the power to transform their lives. And so they have helped millions of people. And when I say millions, millions of people escape extreme poverty, and just they do phenomenal work. Their headquarters is in Nairobi. I'll let them talk more, but their impact is felt throughout sub-Saharan Africa. They are just phenomenal. So I don't know, Tom, would you like to do a quick intro and then pass it on?
Thank you, Becky. And my name is Tom Opapa. I work for KickStart as the Director for Partnerships. At KickStart, we work with smallholder farmers. We support them with irrigation solutions. Across sub-Saharan Africa, the challenge is that majority of the population live in the villages, and 80% of those are peasant farmers. Currently, with the climate change effects and the rainfall pattern has drastically changed. So farmers doing rain-fed farming really gamble with nature, and they do one or no cropping cycle in a year. That means they live in abject poverty. With irrigation, they are able to do all year round farming that enables them and gives them opportunity to make more money year in, month out. This is what we do at KickStart. And we are privileged to have had the chance to work with the Adventure Project over the 11 years that has enabled us to impact on many lives, supporting them with irrigation solution, empowering them through training, and give them the agripreneurship training skills that not only enables them to do irrigation, but enable them to take farming as a viable, profitable, and sustainable business venture like any other. We are glad to work with you, to join this session, to hear more. But again, what has happened today in Kenya and across sub-Saharan Africa is that the rainfall pattern has changed, like I've mentioned. Last couple of months ago, we were expecting heavy rains. The rains failed. When rain failed, the majority of the population in the rural areas are actually now staring at starvation and hunger pandemic. Not only that, a short while ago, about 6-8 months ago, COVID disruption caused a lot of trouble for them. They were not going to farm. They were advised to stay at home. And these are people without no stable jobs. They only work in their farms. When they were told to stay at home to save their lives, that disruption is still with us to date. And therefore, there were no agricultural productivity that was going on there. So that has actually compounded the problem that we have to deal with today. Coupled with that, today, the global inflation has made the commodity prices shoot beyond the imagination of anybody, including myself. A few weeks ago, about 3 weeks ago, for example, petrol was costing $1. Today, it is costing $1.5. The common and the staple food here is maize flour. It is not there because the price has shot by 100% so in some cases by 120%. To a rural poor who does not have a stable income, it is pathetic.
No, thank
What
you.
is happening today is that we are looking at those opportunities and working with partners like TAP to be able to restore livelihood to these people through irrigation. That's what we do at KickStart in a snapshot. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. That was wonderful. Nancy, you had also touched on some of these issues. Could you first introduce yourself and then say a little bit more about, what's the current situation on the ground, especially for, a family that you work with?
Okay, thank you, Becky. My name is Nancy Muindi. I work as the head of marketing, as well as coordinate program activities for KickStart International. We work across 16 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, just helping smallholder farmers mitigate the effects of climate change through irrigation. So we come in to help farmers have sustainable livelihoods through farming throughout the year, through the water that farmers have in their farm pods, in seasonal rivers, and in many sources of water that farmers have access to. So we come in with that component of irrigation and help farmers have a resilient livelihood that are sustainable throughout the year through the component of irrigation. And just to touch on what Becky has asked about, the state of food security right now in Kenya. And to be honest, I think I was visiting my rural home just the other day, and for the last, I think, 3 seasons, farmers have not been able to harvest anything. It is 2 or 3 farmers in a village that have been able to harvest. And if it is only you who has, then the rest come and borrow. And at the end of the day, after a month, you have nothing to eat even for your own. So the situation, I must admit, the situation right now in Kenya is there, especially when it comes to food security, not unless something is done in the next few months, because the next rains that are expected in most part of the country is actually until November. So I'm looking at what farmers are going to do between now and November. And it's not like when the first drop of rain will come with food. The farmers have to toil to plant, wait for those crops to mature. By the time we think the first harvest, it will be probably next year, January. And so, just looking at that path of most Kenyans who are small-scale farmers who depend on rain, not unless there is an intervention that is done that will help them to access food, even past, this stage, it will be hard for most Kenyans to their table. And the good thing with Kenyans, I think Kenyans are working, and once you introduce something to them, they are able to quickly cut up. Most of the interventions, because they see the situation. For example, most of the farmers that we've been able to work with, and we've been able to work with partners to introduce irrigation and our irrigation pumps into their programs. Most of those farmers we visit actually with our partners, and you find they've really adapted. They've dug water pods in their farms. They are harvesting water through different techniques, and they are able to use that water and irrigate. Even if some is a small portion of vegetables, that is able to take them a long way in terms of feeding their families. Because if they are only coming to maybe buy the maize flour, and they already have vegetables in their farms that they can use with that. It helps even nutritionally, because they have vegetables that they can use or supplement their meals alongside what they are able to purchase from the market. So I say the situation is there. We need to do much more. I think climate change is a reality now than it was maybe even a year ago. The effects are here with us, and we can already experience them. and a lot needs to be done. I think irrigation is needed now more than ever. And if we could maybe reach more farmers to just integrate irrigation, to integrate throughout farming into their farms, it would be better. It would really enhance food security in Kenya. Yeah.
So to summarize, or ask you, you mentioned that you're really worried about farmers that are relying on rain because the rains aren't scheduled to come into the fall. But one of the benefits of having access to irrigation is you can have multiple harvests per year, correct? So are you feeling that farmers who are KickStart farmers are able to weather this famine more than other traditional farmers?
Absolutely. Those farmers that we've been able to reach with our technologies, they are more climate resilient. I think they are in a better position to mitigate the effects of what we're seeing. They are in a better position to navigate drought. They are able to farm throughout. They are able to, the first thing that we even emphasize is for you to be able to feed your family. And then if there's surplus that comes along, then you are able to sell that to your neighbors, and the whole region becomes food secure. And I feel the farmers that we've been able to reach, they are in a better position to mitigate the effects of climate change.
That's fantastic. And I mentioned that
Becky, if I just want to mention something there.
Please do.
Because we are talking of climate change, climate effects. And we are talking of irrigation. Why? Because in sub-Saharan Africa, Kenya included, there's a lot of water bodies, rivers, ponds, dams. There are a lot of water available, permanent water sources, that the only thing they need is how to lift that water into their farm for farming. Over.
That was my question. That we get that a lot. If we're talking, okay, this is the worst drought in 40 years. How does irrigation help? And I think what you speak to, correct me if I'm wrong, but about 20% of farmers in Kenya have access to groundwater, at least, meaning they have like a dugout near their home where they can, a dugout's like a hole you dig and there's groundwater there, but they need a way to divert that water onto their field. Am I correct?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's true, actually.
There's always like this trivial pursuit fact where there's actually more groundwater in sub-Saharan Africa than most of America. And I think that is really fascinating when you think about that there actually is incredible water resources underground, but there needs to be a way to divert that water. And so what most people use, I think we sent out that story, we sent a story to our supporters yesterday, one of yours that was really wonderful about a farmer named Mercy, who was just saying she was exhausted trying to carry her jugs, dairy cans of water, 45 pounds each, up the hill to try and water her kale. And then as soon as she got access to irrigation, that just lightens the load, it speeds up the time, and just far more effective. Anybody who is a gardener with their backyard or lawn care expert knows, turning on sprinklers is way easier than trying to water with one can your whole, garden.
Yeah, I agree with you, Becky. And also, we have a lot of innovations around water harvesting techniques in this part of the world. I think there are so many things that have come up where farmers can come into farming groups and help each other dig shallow wells, which can collect water when it rains. And we have dam liners, we call them dam liners, some papers that you can put on the bottom of the farm pods so that there's no seepage. And then we have shade nets that you can put on top of your farm pods so that there's no evaporation to the atmosphere. So in terms of water harvesting techniques, I feel that there's a lot that has been done around that. What has been forgotten to a bigger extent is how do we get this water from that farm pod for you to take it to the farm cost effectively and effectively, if I can say. Yeah.
No, that's fantastic. And I think before I open up for questions too, I just wanted to share a little bit about how you work, which I think is very innovative, and then how we hope to help. But what I think is very interesting about your model is that you have buy-in from your farmers, where your farmers help purchase the cost of the product of the irrigation pump, which is fantastic. And you have a starter pump that you released this year, which is the most affordable starter pump, I think you said, in East Africa. Is that right? Which is phenomenal. And in all of Africa, I'm sorry, which is a phenomenal testament to your commitment to how do you make sure that you're creating and innovating products for people living in extreme poverty, where you have to be really mindful of costs, but also make sure that they're robust and long lasting and appropriate. And so our support is really helping you with all the other bits, with getting people out into the farms, training farmers on how to use them, marketing the pumps so that more farmers know that this is an option. I think in the email last night, Mercy said in her interview that she said, I never had seen anything like this before. I think a lot of rural farmers are remote and might not have access to all of the bells and whistles of marketing efforts. So our support is really, how do we support KickStart in getting more pumps into people who really need it most, and helping to cover those costs to make sure it goes the last mile, meaning it gets directly to the farmer who needs it. So we're, again, like always very inspired by the work you do and how lean you work to make sure that you're trying to target and reach people who truly need it most. So this year, I believe we're going to be kicking off on Friday, which is exciting. We're doing a Summer Friday theme because why not? It should be fun, and fundraising should be fun. There are 5 Fridays in July, and every Friday we're going to be sharing a different story with our crew and community about people whose lives have been transformed because of your work. The Venture Product Supporters have hired or helped hire 400 farmers in Kenya because of KickStart's work. And I think that's really incredible to think about when you go on and you recognize that each farmer goes on to feed at least 50 people in their community, not only their family and their kids, but then they're earning an income, $850 a year, which is phenomenal, moves them into the middle class, and then they are going on to feed 50 people with food. And so it's really a duplicative investment when you're supporting that farmer, because we're helping to stabilize local economies in terms of food security, which is so drastically important. So we're hoping, our goal, we said, was to try and see if we can help 200 farmers in July through KickStart, and those 200 farmers will go on to help feed 10,000 people. So if you're on this call and you want to get more involved, reach out, or we're going to be sending an email later with ways that people can fundraise. It is $500 to support one farmer through this campaign. The farmer is helping to purchase some of the cost of the product, and then the other $500 is going to help get that pump to that farmer and have that farmer trained and ready to scale their business. So it's a great and easy way for you to think about it, as every $10 will help feed one person in Kenya, with 50 people supported for one pump. So we're looking for people to step up and say they want to fundraise, they want to share it on their wall, they want to get 10 friends to give $100 or $50 or 10. That's great. However you want to do it. We would love for people to set some steep goals, but we're trying to see, could we think about what would it look like if we got 200 people signed up to each try and help one farmer in Kenya this July. So thank you again for the work you all do. I am going to open it up now and stop talking and ask if anyone has any questions. Please feel free to take yourself off mute or raise your hand or add a comment in the chat box. This is a great time to do it. And if you prefer, I can ask a question for you if you're not interested in talking. Okay.
Any question?
Yeah. Well, I guess ask, is there anything that you want to make sure to convey to us, Tom, Nancy, that might be new or something about your work that you're working on right now, especially given the urgency of the situation, to try and get more irrigation pumps to people in need right now?
At this point in time, what we are doing is that we are engaging a lot more with the governments because the challenge is enormous, as we've said. So we are at this point in time engaging with the government and the government agencies in order to feed the population that is facing serious starvation. We are also doing this and also reaching out to other partners that can be able to support this cause. And a number of them are already working with these communities, trying to help them with the livelihood, resilient, climate resilient, and nutritional security concerns. But now we are identifying them to deepen and also to reach out to them and see how we can bring our intervention to scale.
Tom, you had mentioned something earlier when we were chatting before this call about the Russian invasion of Ukraine affecting the food supply and the fuel supply. Is that something that people in Kenya are talking about, worried about, anxious about?
This is, we are not grain sufficient, and we import our grain from Ukraine, actually. So with the war, and you know what is happening in the what Russia is doing in Ukraine, there is totally no supply at the moment. So there is rationing of that staple food, a commodity. So what happened is that when a commodity is in short supply, the demand shoots and the consumers suffer. In this case, the poor people are more predisposed to the suffering. Again, even the price of oil, crude oil has shot. The prices have shot. As I told you, the prices was before the war was $1. Today it is $1.5. What that means, when the prices of fuel goes up, it affects the entire supply chain, even the cost of commodities, even transport, everything goes up as well. So that is a situation that someone who is with a disposable income like me is feeling the pinch. So you can imagine what is happening to the vulnerable in the village.
Kelly, you have a question. I'm going to open it up to you to ask. Feel free to chat it, or you can just jump on and say. Thank you, Tom. That was really helpful.
Hi,
and that's what we're talking about too in America.
Oh, yeah. And, when people complain here, they just have no idea. But one thing that I started thinking about with the irrigation program, how does it complement access to clean drinking water? Are there systems that are complementary, or do families have to do two separate things to be able to have farm crop irrigation and then clean water for their homes and drinking and bathing and whatnot?
Let me say, irrigation for KickStart, actually our priority is for farming purposes. That means the available water we are using is both dirty and clean water. So primarily we are focusing on using that water for irrigation purposes. So it's not for using clean drinking water. That would require treatment, and which comes with additional costs.
Yeah, okay. And so
do
maybe
families
to add
then
on
kind of
what
have
came.
two systems? Would a family have two different systems then? One for their irrigation and then one for clean water for drinking?
What happens is that for family use, they can fetch from the rivers. That's the practice here. But for irrigation, it will require someone to fetch, say 50
A heck of a lot of water. Yeah.
Exactly. And you know, we are talking about the challenge that has happened in sub-Saharan Africa is that majority of the youth, they have moved into towns. So they have left the vulnerable, the farming. So you can imagine a lady in his 50s, 60s going to fetch water about 1 kilometer or 2 away to come and irrigate. It is just not it's not imaginable.
Right.
Rather, he can go to that extent to fetch 2 jerrycans, make 2 trips for the family use, which is possible.
Very manageable. Okay.
Right.
Maybe
Oh,
also
that's a really
to
good
add on to what Tom is saying in terms of how we help in access for clean drinking water. You know, ordinarily, if you are not using a pump, that most people use buckets or jerry cans to go and fetch water from the watering point, or if you're keeping livestock, you would take your livestock literally to the dam or the farm pond for them to be able to drink water. But I think that comes in maybe with the part of our pumps, how they help in that. You are able to draw water for the livestock, and at the side have a place where you can put that water for the livestock to consume. That way you avoid contaminating the same water that families are fetching to go and use for drinking by, you know, preventing animals from going to drink directly from the source of water, or even for people, if it is your small farm pod that you've made in your homestead, instead of you maybe stepping to the water for you to be able to draw with a bucket to go and irrigate, you only have the pipe that goes to the source of water, and then you are able to, you know, not disturb the water that you will later come and draw, you know, to drink or something like that. Yeah.
Right, right. Oh, I didn't even think about the livestock aspect of it. Right. Okay, good. Thank you.
That's a
I
really good
might add, just pulling on, and I'm Catherine, I work in New York as a liaison often between TAP and KickStart. But I just wanted to say, pulling on my old Peace Corps experience, there's a really virtuous cycle between good health and sanitation practices and income. And to bring the conversation there as well, what KickStart does is primarily income generating intervention. When families have more money, they have more money to spend on purifying water, filtering it, spending money on healthcare, all the other things that, you know, building better, cleaner toilets. It, you know, when income increases, the health of the family increases too. So we could go on about probably 100 different ways that these different things synergize, but thought I would just add that.
No, that's really important. And I think that's something that we're really interested in at the Venture Project, is like, how are we increasing incomes? And then how is that rippling to impact the family, but then the livelihood and futures of the children, right? So I know KickStart's done some great studies finding out that, you know, every family goes on to send at least one child to school for the first time that wasn't previously attending. I think that the data shows like 1.25 children, which is remarkable. And so you're definitely seeing that families are investing that money back into their kids and other assets. I know people have bought tin roofs and other household improvements because of the income they're earning from your work. So thank you, Kelly. That's a really, really great question. I think that's something that we're really excited about, because when you see those purchases being made, that really shows that people are finally, for the first time, able to grow enough to meet their own food needs, but they can start to sell food and earn an income and move from subsistence farming to, you know, becoming a profitable entrepreneur, which is what we love to see. So again, I'm just so honored that so many people have joined us this morning, and thankful for each of you for being here. And KickStart, we're cheering you on, and we are always so grateful to tell your story and the work that you do all day, because I know it is very, very excruciating, hard work. And we just want to recognize you and thank you for taking time out of your busy days, especially during this emergency, to shed light on what you're doing and how you're doing it. We're really grateful. I am going to end the recording.